Right, hi all, it's April 2021, and first of all, apologies for the background noise, roadworks outside, can't be helped unfortunately, and I wanted to record this video before I install these items in the C5. So common area we see on the forums all the time is electronics don't work. Now there can be loads and loads and loads of different faults for the electronics, simply just loads of them, but of course there are a few more common ones. So that's what I'm just trying to sort of advise people on. So this particular C5 here, plugged it in, no LEDs lit up, but when you press the micro switch here, you did get the relay click at the back. Now the motor itself was seized and damaged, so haven't been able to test that. The parts just arrived actually from Jeff Wells, thank you very much, much appreciated. But ultimately the relay clicks. So when the relay clicks, you can probably be assumed, you know, that the motor will spin if the motor's in good condition. So that's that. So this is the pod, this is the control box. So key area to look for is always the red connector on the back. So this thing here is highly prone to getting corroded because of course it's exposed at the back, it's super old, it's not covered in any, it's got to have as a seal around it, but the wires aren't covered anything, so basically it gets corroded. So you can get an electrical contact cleaner, toothbrush, scrub it, give it really good clean as best as you can. That's about all you can do, because of course you need to be able to get inside here to clean the contacts. You know, there's no good really cleaning out here, you need to be inside. So do what you can, otherwise occasionally these come up on eBay for about £3, £4 each posted. So you can get new ones, but you need a special telephone tool to basically press the wires in. So it's relatively simple, takes about half an hour to install one, I would say, to do it properly. So that's a key area there. Obviously if you have a spare loom, of course you can connect up your spare loom and test it, but most people haven't got a spare loom, so that's something to look out for. Next thing to do is, if you have problems with anything, is to check the pins on the back and to get in there with with ideally a Dremel, a wire brush Dremel, because that doesn't take away the sort of, you know, the zinc or whatever it is coating on there. Otherwise you can have a sort of close look at it, mainly clean it. So this one here actually had dry joints on, so what we did on this one is put in a whole new pin set. So those are all brand new pins. It's the best way, because time people sort of sand down things like this, you know, you lose the coating on them, the pin becomes thin. When you insert it into there, it's a little bit loose. New pins, a couple of quid, and obviously some skill to solder them in. Common area as well, this one here didn't need it, is R21, that resistor there. Normally if it's blown, it's visually burnt and it's fairly obvious, but I have had one or two where they weren't obviously burnt, they didn't look burnt, but they were knackered. So again, you can check that, so that you can get the wiring diagrams off the Sinclair C5 owner's website, the main website. So it tells you, you know, how the current flows through, so you can do all that. That's a key area. Another option as well is also the ULA chip. So you can't buy this particular chip here ready to go from anywhere, but you can buy a coded modern replacement now from Jeff Wells, which is superb, but that does require you to modify a few things on this and a few things on this. You have to solder something onto this, and you have to, like, I think you have to remove like R15 or something, I forget it now, but you have to remove one of those. But you can get that, which is cool. But another thing what I always do is I pull out the chip, so insert a very thin screwdriver this end, lever it, this end here, lever it, gently lever, pull it out, inspect it all. If it's corrosion, which this one had lots of corrosion on, you can clean it up again with the Dremel, the wire brush, very gentle. Push it in nice and straight when you're finished. Make sure the little tab here lines up on the left hand side. And that's cool. So that's now fixed. So now when you plug it all in, the lights now come up. On this side here, a common thing again is cleanliness of these. This one here hadn't been opened, so this one hadn't been fully opened before here, but the top had been taken off and it had corrosion in there, full of debris, full of crap. Someone had a go at it, bodged it, all this sort of stuff. So I've got in there with Dremel, cleaned up all that. So just do all that as a minimum, clean that up. Cleaned up this pin here. These were all covered in corrosion, cleaned all those up as well. Took the T fuses out, because it has been known as well that obviously the fuses can blow, but also the holders could get corroded as well and not be obvious and have a bit of a poor contact. So again, get in there with the Dremel, clean it up, super mint, check the fuses, back in again. You've got a 1 ampere and a 2 ampere on there. Common thing as well on this one here is the R1 there. Again, normally it's visually burnt out if it is, but that then feeds the power into the IC1. So the IC1 here, which is 3-pin chip, which is very common for it to go. It comes in as something like 12 volts and goes out as something like 5 or 6 volts. Again, it's on the diagram. And if it's obviously not coming out at 5 or 6 volts, then you know it's probably knackered if 12 volts is coming in on the R1. So again, you can drill out the rivet, put a new one in, and then you can then either rivet it back on again, or you can bolt it on with a tiny little nut and bolt, which is what I normally use. This one here, that one there was fine. We like to replace the IC2 on here, because this part here controls many things, including how when you press the micro switch, which lights up, you know. So if it always goes straight to green, then chances are it's probably the IC2. So you can get get into chips dirt cheap. You can get, if you plan on keeping your C5 for a long time, you can, and you shouldn't really need to replace these chips like very often, you know, once every 30 years. So if you're keeping it a long time, just lob a new chip in. Again, solder it in properly, don't overheat it, all this sort of stuff. Otherwise, most of those components are normally fine. Sometimes you have some of those little the transistors down there, the TR3s, that sometimes go. Again, you can check them all and all that, but I would sort of start off with those key items there that I just mentioned, and cleanliness of the whole panel is important. Red loom here, very critical. Pin set, really critical. So yeah, so once that was done, this all now lights up. I test it on my test board, so press the accelerator and a little light bulb comes up and it goes to orange and down to green, so it's kind of looking like it's good, you know, looking good. You can't really tell properly until you plug it into the C5 to be able to test it sort of fully, you know, under load, under weight, under the pressure of the motor, power of the motor, the draw of the motor, all that sort of stuff. You know, if you find you plug it in and you find that the battery shows full, and then it drops down from 2 green to 1 green to amber to red fairly swiftly over the space of, like, you know, a couple of minutes, then more often than not that is the ULA chip which is faulty, in which case that's, unfortunately, it's trash, it's an ornament. You have to then replace it with Jeff's the kit that he nails, that he sells every so often, so that has to go in there and do the modification, you know, or buy another pod that you think it works. Again, most pods you find on eBay, generally speaking, don't work, you know, because of course they're faulty. That's why someone's selling it. It's a general rule, you know. Yeah, so there we go. Hope that's of some information to people. And yeah, I'm gonna quickly install this stuff now, and then have a look under pressure, see if it works. Thank you again for Jeff for the bits and pieces regarding this, and also for the part that he's just sent for this particular C5, which is say Rich and John C5. Cool. Thank you. Cheers.